Well, what is up, all of you Ugnots and Jawas, and welcome back to another episode of Mando Talk. As always, I am your host, Caleb Keller, and I am so excited this week because we have a returning guest. He's now, honestly, I just want to say like brother of the show. I mean, family of the
Oh,
show. I don't know what to
that's
call it,
cool.
but it is Rebel Scum Texan. He was our giveaway winner. And man, we got so lucky with you as our giveaway because, like I said, you're a family to the show. You're family to the show at this point. So, what's up? How's it going? And welcome back.
Well, first of all, that is a high honor. I don't even know what to call that. I feel very honored that you would say that. I feel the same way about you guys.
Yeah.
All the whole crew, the whole Mando Talk crew, Caleb, Jacob, BA, Noah, everybody. I mean, it's really cool to get to talk to you guys through Twitter and even right now and in our giveaway podcast episode or the YouTube video we did. And it was a lot of fun. I did want to let everybody know that I do have this.
Dude, let's go. Oh, that's awesome.
I keep it on my desk at work. And since I work in a church, there's little kids that come in and out of the office and they'll be like, what's that on your desk? And then they're like, one little kid the other day was like, can I play with it? Can I play with it? I was like, go ahead. It's just sitting there chilling. So I have that on my desk and it's, oh, hold on. There it is. So I have it and it sticks with me throughout the week.
Yeah, man, you gotta tell them to check out Mando Talk if they like the bobblehead.
Oh, dude, it's crazy. For the last one, I shared it, there was a few people I know just in the area. I'm like, hey, I think your kids might enjoy this because they know me. They like Star Wars. And I thought, yeah, go watch this. And then my little brother is in the 5th grade. Mm-hmm. So he's in YouTube culture. Yeah. So he went and told all his friends and he watched it up teen times. It was kind of crazy, how that happened. I was like, wow, okay. And then I had a friend of mine from college. I saw him a few weeks after and he goes, are you doing a podcast now? And I was like, no, I was just a guest. And he goes, man, I thought that was yours. I was like, oh no, I can't take credit. They pitted me and let me come on.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to let everybody know about this week.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's going to be a great discussion. We got a lot of things to kind of get to. I mean, I sent you notes earlier in the week and it was like a wave of just rumors and stuff that just hit overnight or in the middle of the day after I'd already sent you notes. So we had to adjust because we got some things to talk about.
Absolutely. I'm excited to do it.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and do it. Well, first of all, before we do that, though, as always, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Mando Talk. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you hear our lovely voices. Just do whatever you got to do to make us look and feel really good. And we really appreciate the support as always. So off the top, we're going to go ahead and get those rumors and just online frenzy craziness that happened this kind of past middle week regarding Star Wars. And we're first going to address the Twitter rumors as far as future projects go. And what I like to do with rumors is I like to play a little game called Fact or Fan Fiction. So do we really believe this rumor could become true? If so, we'll say it's fact. If we really feel like it's a rumor that could be true, but we feel like it's a fan just trying to land a target and claim that, oh, I predicted this, we'll say that's fan fiction. Sound good?
Okay. I like it.
All right. First one that came out again, just out of the blue. According to Kevin Kiner, he is the Star Wars animation composer. Love his work. I mean, one of the Rebels soundtrack is honestly top tier Star Wars, in my opinion. He stated that the Bad Batch will have at least 14 episodes on Full of Sith podcast. Apparently, he was a guest on that show. So, fact or fan fiction?
All right. Am I going first, I guess?
Yeah, you go first. That's fine. That's fine.
Who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
I love
that. No, I read that and I actually, you sent it to me as the first time I'd heard of it. So I was like, oh, I didn't know this. Okay. So it was really cool to get that information from you. But I think it is fact. Full of Sith, they are a well-known podcast and this came from Kevin Kiner himself. I just don't see how he's not a reliable source, especially since he's been scoring these Bad Batch episodes and writing the music and all this fun stuff. And he also did Clone Wars, as you mentioned, and Rebels. And you're right, the Rebels stuff is incredible. I wish that I can't remember. I think it's Rebels that they haven't released all of the music for it yet.
Maybe
if I go back and look at it, I haven't done it in a minute, but man, the music on Rebels is great for a lot of reasons. It ties in Clone Wars, prequels, not the sequels, but going forward, all those kinds of things. So and he's been a part of Star Wars since 2007, 2008. So I would think that someone like him would be privy to that kind of information. Mm-hmm. It makes sense to me. Yeah,
and I agree 1,000%. I believe this is fact. Now it is interesting, at least why he would use that phrase, at least 14. So
yes.
Do we think it's on the money 14 episodes or more?
I did a little looking into that too. When you think about what Disney's been doing with Star Wars, especially for TV and Disney Plus, Mando, each season had 8 episodes. Clone Wars season 7, and I say that specifically because it is Disney produced. It's not the old ones. So the Disney produced Clone Wars season 7 has 12 episodes. And then also Rebels season 4 only had 15 episodes. Now season 1 had somewhere around 15 episodes, and seasons 2 and 3 were in the 20s. Right. But, given that the most recent season of Rebels and the most recent season of Clone Wars have been right in that gap, that 14 episodes, to me, that makes sense. I think that's a solid number.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And you totally did some great research on that, man. I was going to say I was going to just kind of guess in the ballpark, like 15 to 18, just kind of going off that vibe. But I'm excited about that number. I was kind of disappointed whenever the final season of the Clone Wars came around and it wasn't up to the double digits like that. But regardless, it's very exciting to hear, especially since we're getting a 70-minute premiere.
That was the biggest piece of news to me. I mean, it's what is that? 70 minutes of just full on, basically Clone Wars. It's essentially Clone Wars. And even if it was shorter, I would still be excited. But the fact that it's that long, it's over an hour. I don't think any one of them ever was an hour, aside from the Clone Wars movie.
Right.
It's almost 2 hours.
Now, in the past, whenever they didn't have streaming, obviously when they did live television program, whenever the show would debut, would they typically, I don't know why I feel like they did this, but didn't they show 2 episodes, like usually on the premiere nights?
Are you talking about before? Talking about Clone Wars specifically?
Either Clone Wars or Rebels. I feel like somewhere it's happened at some point with at least a premiere or a season premiere.
I remember being in high school still, and Clone Wars was still coming out, and there were occasions when they would do like a 1 hour special, but it was 2 episodes. And so I vaguely remember that. So I don't know if Rebels ever did that. I was in college when Rebels was coming out.
True. Same.
So I didn't, sit down and watch Rebels until it was on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So, and just as a sidebar, it's become one of my favorite pieces of Star Wars since having watched it.
Dude, yes.
But,
yes.
And I'm currently on like the last episode, and there's this part of me that's like, no, don't finish it yet, because you're going to get up, you're going to be a little teary eyed at its ending, and because it's that good. But, good. But anyway, and if I may segue, I think that segues into the next big rumor.
Do it, man.
Okay.
The next, you want it? Take it.
If you want, I'll do it, man. Yeah. Okay.
Take it, dude. Take it.
Let me check out your notes. I've got them pulled up too.
Okay.
According to @DanielRPK on Twitter, here's the synopsis for the Ahsoka show. Ahsoka Tano is on the hunt for the evil Grand Admiral Thrawn in the hope it will help her locate Ezra Bridger, the young Jedi that disappeared from Thrawn many years ago. So we're going fact or fiction, right? I did the first one. You do this one.
Okay, I will take this one, the lead. I think this is fan fiction. Now, I say that with not a lot of knowledge about how reliable @DanielRPK is on Twitter, to be completely fair. So maybe he's usually on the money. I just don't know that. But on the surface, so maybe you know a little bit more about that Twitter user. But on the surface, for me, I feel like it's just at this point, us as Star Wars fans just kind of have this general sense of that has to be the synopsis, like at least that kind of plot line. Like it just makes sense, and anyone can put that sentence or two together to where it makes sense and seems official. I don't expect here in the next, I don't know, 6 months to 12 months when they actually release the official synopsis. I do not expect it to say that word for word, especially now that this has apparently been leaked. So I'm going to stand on fan fiction.
Well, I'm going 100% opposite.
Okay.
I do think that it's fact. And I did just hop over to Twitter and check this guy's profile out. He has 100,000 followers. Now that doesn't mean anything, you know. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't. I mean, he, as far as we know, as far as you and I know, he's not somebody that works for Lucasfilm or anything like that. So for me, I get where you're at, where it's like, okay, we have no idea if this is right, but I think, you know, we talked about the ending of Rebels a second ago. We do see Ahsoka return, basically looking like Gandalf the White. Yes. And Filoni has said, Dave Filoni has said that that's kind of who he views Ahsoka as one of the higher wizards of Lord of the Rings, but in Star Wars. And that's a deep dive into some serious nerddom. But we actually, and I went a little further on my research for this one because I had to know what Sabine says in that little monologue there at the end of that last episode. And I have the quote, I wrote it out because I had to have it. But Sabine Wren says, "As for me, I used to think Ezra was counting on me to protect Lothal, the planet and the people he cared for so much. But one day I realized there was more to it. There was something else I was meant to do." And then there's a slight pause. And then she says, "Ezra's out there somewhere and it's time to bring him home." Now, the time period.
I just got chills while you read that, man.
Listen, I wish I could take credit, but when you think about it, we see Ahsoka come back for just that short snippet, you know, and then we don't see her again chronologically until Mando's season 2, episode 5, I think it is. And so that sounds right. And so when she comes back, you know, very clearly she's over there fighting Governor Wing, which I did not know was her actual name. I had to look that up too. That's what she's credited. That's her character's name, Governor Wing. So I went and checked that out. And she straight up says, where's your master? Where's Admiral Thrawn? And that I've always felt was, especially since the December shareholders meeting, I felt that was the nugget to let everybody know this is where the Ahsoka show is going.
Yeah.
So for me, when I hear the Daniel PRK thing and saying, hey, you know, this is the synopsis, to me, I think it's fact.
Okay. No, and I don't disagree at all that that's where that show is heading.
Yeah.
Like it's 1000%, and I'll be blown away, shocked if it's not Ahsoka's journey of finding Thrawn, because she obviously wants to get to Ezra.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those things where, I mean, I could put a sentence together and make it sound good.
Sure.
And say it's the official synopsis, and it might be exact. So I guess I'm just playing devil's advocate here. But I wouldn't be against that being the synopsis.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody would, but you're right. I mean, anybody could string those words together. I could have done that and it wouldn't have taken off anywhere. No. You know, but I think for a guy like this Daniel guy who has such a big following, you know, I was scrolling through his tweets, looking at other stuff, and some of it was just like, this is outlandish, but other stuff was like, okay, well, you know, maybe. And, you know, and I think the Ahsoka thing kind of falls in that maybe category.
All right. Well, I'll just open this up to our listeners. If you're on YouTube, you let us know, since we're not on the same page, I guess, currently. Comment on our YouTube video. Say if you think the Ahsoka synopsis that's floating around there, if you think it's fact or fan fiction, let us know what you think. Now, we will go to the last Twitter rumor that was going around here in the middle of the week. According to Cinelinx, Din Djarin will make an appearance in the Book of Boba Fett. now you get to go first. Fact or fan fiction?
I think it's fiction. I really do think it's fiction because we've already had 2 seasons of TV dedicated to Din Djarin. We've had the Mandalorian moments and Boba Fett, and even Fennec Shand and Ahsoka and Bo-Katan, all of them coming in to that second season. I really think that is setting some other things up for both Mandalorian and Boba. If Din Djarin is even in the Book of Boba Fett, it's for a minute. I mean, it's not long. I really don't think it's going to be a very long time. And here's really the big reason why. I think that they want the Boba Fett story to be told. I think that that's what they want to get out there. And since the story of Din Djarin is being told and will continue to be told for at least, I don't know if a season 4 was ever confirmed or not. I can't remember, but at least one more season.
I feel like Giancarlo Esposito's talked about it for sure in an interview.
Yes, so that's where I remember hearing it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking there's things like that. And, we've got Fennec Shand coming into Bad Batch here in just a few weeks. And that, I think, will have some setups to Book of Boba Fett. Whether they're minor or major, I couldn't say. But I would be willing to bet that that's going to connect over there somehow.
Okay. No, and I don't disagree with anything you've said. But you know what? Let's just keep this interesting. I'm going to say that it's fact.
I should have seen it coming. Should have known.
Now, here's my take, though. You know how in The Mandalorian, we think that the season's over and we get that shot on Tatooine.
Yes.
That's what I expect. I expect Din Djarin an end-credit scene. I think Favreau's incorporating his Marvel tendencies there. I think he's having fun with it. I think we see an end credit scene to tease season 3 of The Mandalorian, and that's where Din Djarin makes his appearance, and nothing outside of that.
I'll give you that. Okay. And when I read it, I was thinking he's not going to be a part of the story. He doesn't need. But you're right. I mean, a little like, hey, here's where we're going with Mandalorian. That makes all the sense in the world to me.
Yeah, I think it'll just be like. Exactly like it was in season 2 with Boba showing up, finally taking the throne on Tatooine at Jabba's palace.
That's still ridiculous to me that they did that. And I don't know if you saw it. I have to know real quick before we move on. When you finished that episode and the credits rolled and the like who played what and who did what, did you notice Bib Fortuna in the credits before he actually showed up?
No, I did not.
Dude, I did that. I mean, I was half awake, if even, but I remember seeing it. It said Bib Fortuna, played by Matthew Wood, and I was like, "Where was Bib Fortuna in this episode?"
Yeah, and
I kept watching. I was like, "That's not right," and my brain didn't say rewind; it said just hold on. I don't know why, because I wasn't ready for an end credit scene, but then he showed up, and I was like, "This is ridiculous."
No, I didn't catch that. That's a good catch. I feel like if I had seen that, I probably would have paused it and spent so much time trying to find him to where I never saw the end credit scene. But I, unfortunately, before I could watch the finale, that I was told to stick around. So that kind of took that moment away from me. Or I wasn't necessarily told by anybody. I just saw it on Twitter. You play the dangerous game by getting on Twitter late at night. I shouldn't even blame anybody except myself.
Yep. I mean, that's what I would do in the mornings. I'd get up and like, don't even look at your phone. Go to the TV and I'd go watch it real early in the morning and go from there. Mm-hmm. I just had to know.
No. And having that discussion, I can't wait for the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian to make a comeback. It's going to be great. Now,
it's just all the Star Wars.
Yeah. Now this online frenzy though that popped up, Obi-Wan Kenobi is just all over the place all of a sudden, and we love to see it, dude. We love to see it.
Absolutely.
The first thing that popped up that I saw at least was this set video on TikTok going around. Somebody, I guess, driving in a car. Maybe it's a Razor or Gator, whatever.
It looked like a golf cart.
Golf cart. Around the set. Somebody's just taking videos of the set and just throwing it out there now.
I couldn't believe it. And if it wasn't a publicity stunt, that dude who took that video is 100% fired.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't a publicity stunt, it very well could be, because like you said, the internet's decided all of a sudden, let's focus on just Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it because it's Obi-Wan. You know, it's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, whoever put that out there was a bold one, as Grievous might say. So
did you spot anything in that video?
Nothing that just immediately, like, I watched it 2 or 3 times the other day, just trying to say, okay, does anything look familiar? And to me, we now have a third town that Mandalorian season 2 gave us, that I guess you could say it's a possibility that it's that town. But I don't think I don't even remember that Moss, whatever it was, Pelgo. Was it Pelgo?
Pelgo, I think.
Okay, so Moss whatever is where Cobb Vanth was. I don't think it's that town. I think we're going to get Mos Eisley or Mos Espa. Mos Espa, maybe, because it was in Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Mos Eisley seems more likely to me, because I don't know if we need it, but it'd be really cool if we got this, like, okay, why does Obi-Wan know that Mos Eisley is a wretched hive of scum and villainy? So if anything, to me, I think it's kind of, that.
I think so. That was my big takeaway as well. I just didn't. I wanted to make sure you possibly didn't see something, or did see something that I didn't. Yeah. So I wanted to get that out there if you did see that.
Other than just like architecture and like
cool stuff,
like a door. I was like, that door looks familiar, but I mean, the set dressers haven't come in yet, and it clearly is only the bones, of the structures. So, I mean, it's going to be a little while if it's not already there, because I mean, they're starting to shoot here pretty soon if they haven't already begun.
Within the week or weeks.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah. So with all that being said, I think, there was nothing that was just right there in my face, but I was like, okay, we get to go back to Tatooine. I was like, that's cool. I'm okay with that.
That's like the sandbox as a Star Wars fan. You have your action figures, no matter if they never went to Tatooine in the movies, you played with all your action figures on Tatooine. I mean,
absolutely.
That's just the place to be.
Absolutely.
But now that's not the only Obi-Wan Kenobi frenzy out there.
Yeah.
This was a special request from you, so I really want to hear what you got to say about this. Now, I am, obviously, mine's not as impressive as yours. I love beards. Hey. Don't get me wrong.
Hey.
Ewan McGregor, though, as Obi-Wan Kenobi, the beard is like no one can get close to that, man.
I have beard. I call it beard envy. Like when you see, and I don't know where I got that. I heard it somewhere once, but when you look at Ewan and you see he's got even more beard than he did as Kenobi in 2005.
It's full, man.
it's a full on beard. I feel like we need to start a new campaign, hashtag, what do you want to call it? It's just return of the beard. Just hashtag return of the beard. And
let's do it.
And like you said, I'm a fan of beards. I do get beard envy from time to time. I mean, I remember being at a baseball game as a kid, back when the Astros didn't cheat. And I was living near Houston. My dad took me to a game, and we always had this tradition where we walk around the stadium. And now, I granted, this guy didn't have a beard, but this man had a mustache out to here. I mean, it was. Yeah. I was like, I want that mustache.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those like things. I mean, it sounds funny, it sounds weird, but I mean, beard envy's real, and I envy Ewan McGregor's Kenobi beard.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Now, I'm excited. Kenobi. I would say honestly, it's probably the top for me. Personally right now, because again, it's all over the internet because of these two really silly things, but
I know
like it's happening on purpose, kind of like you mentioned, because people are talking about it, and I hope we don't have to wait too long because I'm getting very anxious for it.
Yeah, I think that the premiere for it is like a year from this month. If I don't remember what I saw, I swear I saw it like April 2022 is what I saw. Somewhere.
Oh, okay.
There's so many. There's so many announcements about all these upcoming projects.
I know.
Like even today, they announced the release date of Indiana Jones 5.
Yeah, I saw that, baby.
That's a whole nother thing. And I was like, oh, okay, a year. Okay, we got about a year. Okay, that's cool. and I got excited, and then I had to like, okay, calm down. No one really cares as much as you do. So, but at the same time, there's so many announcements that keep coming up about different projects. I never know what's coming next. I have to go Google it, what's next, and go from there. But yeah, I'm right there with you. It's up there at the top of my list. And, it's probably for me. I'm anticipating it more than probably Book of Boba Fett or Mando season 3. Definitely more than Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
As much as a Clone Wars fan as I think I am.
Yeah.
I've got Kenobi way up there on the list.
Absolutely. 1000% agree. Now, all of you listening out there, let us know what you think about all these Twitter rumors, online frenzy. I love to see it. I know some people get carried away with it and get too attached to these rumors and think it's just absolute fact. And if it doesn't happen, we're mad. But I just enjoy the fun. I mean, it's great to see people active on social medias talking about Star Wars the way that they are. So I love to see it. And I can't wait to see more. So let's get to our main topic or topics this week.
Yeah.
So what happened really to kind of plan this whole thing is Disney announced, Disney Plus, Lucasfilm, Star Wars announced that they were going to put out all of their vintage collection.
Yeah.
On, what was it? April 2nd? It was April 2nd. It all came out, didn't it?
I have no idea.
I think it was a week ago.
Yeah, it hadn't been long.
Today.
It hadn't been long.
And speaking of that, I have not had a chance to watch all of it yet, but I'll talk more about that later. But anyways, what happened was we saw it on Twitter, and, you tweeted at us talking about how you wanted to kind of talk about it. So we're talking about it. And that's the beauty of this show.
Yeah. I thought it was a bold move. As soon as I sent the tweet, I was like,
no. Dude, anytime you, like I said, I think I said this last time, anytime you want to come on the show, you let us know. I'll just
keep doing it. I'll just keep doing it then.
All right.
I'll just show up. I'll hack the stream.
Hey, that's fine. That is fine. So what I wanted to do was just go down the list of all the vintage collection that came onto Disney Plus and share our thoughts about them. And like I said, I haven't gotten a chance to watch all of them yet, so I feel like maybe you will be better prepared for some of them. But obviously, I don't know yet. Have you seen all of them recently?
I took a quick little. I definitely watched 2 of them. I'll talk about it more in a minute. And then I dipped into some of the others just to kind of see, just more like test the waters,
right.
The big toe in the water thing, just to see what we got going on.
Yeah. So I'll rely on you with some of those. I've just been carried away with, March Madness is a huge thing for me. So I've been carried away with that.
I totally get it.
The Masters, I'm a big golf fan, so that's been carrying me away. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean, there's so much stuff to watch.
I haven't watched episode 4 of Falcon Winter Soldier yet, so I'm doing that tonight.
I haven't either, and I'll be watching it tonight as well.
There you go.
I'll be reaching out to you to hear what you thought about it.
I'm looking forward to it. How'd your bracket go?
Oh, horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible. And see, I'm a Kentucky basketball fan, so they weren't in it this year. So it was very hard for me to be motivated to fill out a bracket because I was salty,
I get that. I'm not the biggest sports fan, and I'm not the biggest basketball fan, specifically the college levels, but I went ahead and did a bracket, and I was like, I watched the Texas Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
And I saw that they won, and I was like, okay, well, I mean, they won a big championship, and me knowing next to nothing, I was like, let's just see what the bracket does. I went down all the lists, and I had Texas going all the way, and freaking Abilene Christian University. I was dadgummit. It was annoying.
Yeah,
but I got some of the Final Four right. I had Gonzaga and Baylor. So
yeah, no, that's good.
I did well.
You had the top 2, but luckily, clearly, we are not sports people. We are nerds. We know more about Star Wars.
That's very true.
So I did the Clone Wars 2D. Let's talk about that one first. I did watch both of those, both parts in their entirety. And I do have some things that I just wanted to talk about. I have them separate on my phone notes here. So I'm going to talk about those real quick. Here are my part 1 takeaways of Clone Wars 2D. The clones not speaking as much is really cool to me. Like, I don't prefer it over the 3D animation clones of how we get to know their characters more.
Yeah.
But it is a cool aspect for me to they're just in action, and that's all they were programmed, designed to be.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. obviously not as much as the 3D style of how we get to know them more, but it is
right.
really cool.
Yeah, I like that too. I mean, to a degree, I think it's neat for sure.
Yeah. Now my next one here, it's very quick to recognize this, that many of the plot lines or ideas are remastered later in the 3D Clone Wars. I thought that was really cool, and I think that's now Filoni. Was he involved with the 2D?
I don't know. The guy who was who is credited with it is a Russian animator. I can't think his Tartakovsky. I
right.
100% butchered that name.
That's fine.
I wrote it down. Tartakovsky. That's really hard to say. But yeah, he's the guy who's like credited with the 2D Clone Wars.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this list. I do not see Filoni listed as part of the story or producer or anything. So yeah, I thought that was cool though. Then that Lucas Filoni respected the 2D enough to incorporate it into their storylines. Thought that was really cool. My next takeaway for part 1, the villains, man, all of them are really cool. I love every single one of them.
And then a couple that are different for sure.
Yeah. Yes. And then my last takeaway was I loved the display of Anakin's piloting. I put that in my notes as well. Those were my big takeaways from part 1. I didn't really want to dive too further into that, but what do you think about all those?
On what you said, you're right. The villains in this, for me, I like the Grievous content a lot. And that's not part 1. That's more part 2.
Well, you get a tease of it in part 1 for sure.
Yes. And that part 1, I remember watching that and seeing it. And I was like, who is this? Who is this guy? It was a cat and mouse thing, which was, that was perfect, I thought. And the way they had the different Padawans and a couple of Jedi Masters we knew, I thought that was really cool. I was really big on that character's name, the character named Dirge. I think his name is.
Yes,
Dirge. That's a freaking weird name, but it's a Star Wars name.
It is.
And I was totally okay seeing him again. And I know I saw the day they announced the vintage collection on Twitter, I saw someone say something about him coming back in a comic book.
Yes, he is. And I think we talked about that a few weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah. Did not remember that. So thank you for reminding me. But he's making that comic book return. And I don't know who's in charge of that branch of Lucasfilm, but I think it's really cool. They were like, hey, do you remember this character? Okay, he's got a history. Let's tie him in somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big driving force behind adding the 2D Clone Wars to Disney Plus.
No, I agree. And yeah, one of my big questions, and we can go ahead and dive into this. Like, I always try to view it. Obviously, I'm a fan. I'm going to view the content as a fan first, but then I also try to step back and see, okay, now why are they pushing this type of content right now? Yeah. So I was curious, and we can go ahead and go down that lane. What was their end game of releasing these projects, these stories? And for me, and I'll just go ahead and answer what I think it was for. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of a mixture of just to please fans, keep content going, appreciation message for all the ones that have been diehard since day one. Yeah. But also I think too that it's stacking up content for kids, which Disney Plus probably has more kid viewers than adult viewers because it's just one of those platforms. I think it's just stacking up the kid content for Star Wars fans out there as well.
I think you're actually, I think you're very right about that. They need the content to keep the streaming platform going. Not like it's hurting or anything. In fact, I remember seeing something that was like all of Disney's streaming platforms was like what kept Disney going through 2020. Yeah. And that's not really a surprise at all when you really step back and look at it. But yeah, I think they're stacking content for kids. When it comes to Star Wars, I feel like Star Wars it's not as niche at times as we think it is. Yeah. And I think in this case with Clone Wars and the Ewoks content, I think it really is getting a little extra niche into certain Star Wars fans. But I think mostly I'm thinking it really is for stacking content for kids.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I just wanted to quickly talk about that too, because I know that was something we kind of teased up a few weeks ago when they made this announcement. Like, why do we think they're doing it? Could they be bringing this up because they want to play off of some of these characters? And yeah, you're right. Dirge, obviously they're bringing him back. So that's a great way to introduce that character to people out there if they've never heard of the character before. So let me go ahead. Now let's talk about part 2 of Clone Wars 2D. Okay. I'll just run through my list of takeaways so we can just talk about it. If that's cool with you.
Let's go.
For me, the coolest character, and I might have missed this character's name. It was this clone helmeted with horned Jedi. I don't know who that character is, honestly. But man, I was like, when I saw that character pop up, I was like, give me some more of that. That was awesome.
I think that was a character, and I only know this because I overnight I fell asleep watching it one night.
Yeah.
And got up the next day and watched it. And somewhere in between there, I'm fairly certain we watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And my wife is deaf. So she watches everything with subtitles. And she's not fully deaf, she uses hearing aids, but she prefers to have the subtitles on for her. And I'm like, it's fine. If I want to not focus on the I'm one of those people, if the subtitles are on, I just stare at it the whole time.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, I'll just go back and rewatch it later. And that way, I can see it how I want to see it. And that's not a big deal to me, but the subtitles got left on is my point. And I was sitting there watching that scene, and I think his name is something like, I might be wrong. Saucy Teen.
Okay.
He is in episodes 2 and 3, somewhere. And he's definitely in the Filoni Clone Wars, but he's just not helmeted and riding a bike. I think he was riding a bike. I can't remember. I may be getting him mixed up with Kenobi.
I can't think off the top of my head.
Yeah, me either. Either way, I'm with you. That dude is
that was cool.
Yeah. That dude's cool.
My next takeaway, I laughed so hard at the repetitiveness of Mace Windu's punching.
Yes.
The quick. I thought that was so hilarious.
I remember when the final episode of the 2D Clone Wars premiered. I remember it so clearly because I was with my buddy Chris, my best friend growing up. His name's Chris, and him and his wife just celebrated their 4th anniversary. So, Chris, if you're watching this, congrats, buddy. But me and him, he's just a few years older than me. We were sitting in beanbags watching this, and I don't know how we caught it live. I almost never caught these things live. We didn't have a DVR back then, so I would tape stuff on a VHS tape. I would tape these episodes and watch them later. And so this one time I'm watching it live, and as soon as Mace comes up to fight Grievous at the end and does the whole the force choke thing, which makes him cough.
Yeah.
I was like, we both went, we freaked out, and we fell out of our beanbag chairs, punching at each other. Like, did you see that? Did you see that? We couldn't get over it because it was so cool. And for us, that combined with Mace Windu doing the ridiculous fast droid punching, I could watch Mace Windu punch droids for days.
I think so too.
I mean for days.
You know how there's greatest. like a 3-hour loop of Kenobi saying hello there?
Yes.
Let's make one of Mace Windu punching droids like that.
10 hours of just Mace Windu.
Absolutely.
I'd be all for it. All for it.
Yeah. Now, my other takeaway here is the vision that Anakin has. I thought that was a great tie-in. There, with the pictures, the paintings on the wall.
Yeah.
Or in the caves. Thought that was cool. I thought that was great. And then the last one, you kind of already touched on it. Grievous getting that cough. For those out there that don't know about that, I mean, that's a cool, like you said, that would make me freak out as a kid watching that. Like, that's how Grievous is like that in episode 3. That is incredible.
I remember coming out of Revenge of the Sith, when I was a kid, and one of my parents said, "Why was he coughing? Why was he coughing?" And if you don't have the background, I was like, oh, it's because in this one episode of Clone Wars that you don't care about, he did this thing, and Mace Windu was there, and Shaak Ti. I'm naming off all these random characters, and my parents were just like,
okay,
nope, and they move on. And even now, if I were to go off and tell them that, they would probably have the same reaction.
Agreed.
But yeah, it was cool. It was just cool, and it makes me happy, and it makes me smile.
Absolutely. So I really enjoy Clone Wars 2D, and I know Jacob, I wish he was here. Every time it seems like every time I bring up Clone Wars 2D, he's not here, but man, he is a huge fan of Clone Wars 2D. Like, he sent me so many times just in the past 3 months, like 4 links to YouTube videos of Grievous going off, and he's like,
yes,
Grievous is so cool in these, like episode 3 doesn't do him justice.
No, and
he's a huge fan.
And if anything, I think, and this may be a hot take, I'll throw it out there, maybe a hot take, the 2D General Grievous is leaps and bounds better than the 3D Clone Wars Grievous.
I don't think that you are wrong at all.
Fantastic. That's great. It's just, he had so much more and it's weird. He had character development, and these episodes were only like 10 minutes long a piece when they originally came out. So to cram all that in there in a very short amount of time, it's so, to me, it's so cool how they developed him and got him ready for episode 3. I think I even heard at one point that George Lucas considered showing the parts 1 and 2 of the 2D Clone Wars leading in to Revenge of the Sith, and you could buy a ticket to watch all of it. And I don't know if that ever happened. If someone out there was a part of that or knows about that, please let me know or let us know. But I think that'd be really cool to hear about. But I've heard that at one point, and I honestly think that might be one of the reasons that Lucas decided to grab Filoni and go make the Clone Wars, because he wanted to give a definitive story. That's how I see it. And if that's what ended up happening, that's really cool.
No, I agree that Clone Wars 2D overall, I really enjoy it, and I do think it's rewatchable for any Star Wars fan out there, just to get those cool little details, plus the Mace Windu punching.
Yes, all day.
All right, next on the list for the vintage collection, I did get a chance to watch this one, is The Story of the Faithful Wookiee. I love it. I love that story. I kind of wish that they would do a remaster of it, like a Clone Wars animation style of it. And really the biggest thing that I thought about when I was watching this is, how the Clone Wars really made people go back to the prequels and think, okay, now that we have the Clone Wars information, I really appreciate these films a lot more.
Yes.
I think eventually, maybe not right now, I think eventually they need to do that with the sequels. I think they need to make some animation show with Luke Skywalker, a young Ben Solo, Han Solo, Leia, all the characters that we love. Obviously, not the animation style of The Story of the Faithful.
No.
Man, Han Solo's face in that, I laugh every time I see it.
It doesn't even look like Han.
Yeah. Every time I see Story of the Faithful Wookiee, though, that's one of the first things I think about is, man, I would love to see our OG characters animated. Like, why not?
I don't see any reason why they can't. And in one aspect, they've already animated Leia.
True.
And she was in Rebels, and that was she actually had a decent story in Rebels. And we've seen Chewbacca in Clone Wars, and of course R2 and C-3PO, and I see no reason why you can't tie in some of those characters.
Agreed.
And since Mark Hamill has a voice acting background,
dude, great voice acting background.
Why not? I mean, I'm kind of with you, and I've never considered that before. I think you're right. If we were to get something that was a tie-in to the sequels, aside from Resistance was more a linear tie-in. And I think that was just Disney trying to really push these new movies. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Agreed.
But I really think you're right. I think that they do need to revisit that and try to make that happen somewhere down the line.
Yeah. No, and I think eventually it will, just probably not anytime soon. I think Filoni's having fun doing his little Filoni-verse kind of stuff. All for him.
I get it. I get it.
You got anything else you want to add about Story of the Faithful Wookiee?
Yeah, just as an experience side of things, I'm pretty sure that when the original 6 movies were released on Blu-ray, whichever year that was, I want to say 2015, but I think that's wrong. 2013, something like that. That was on there, and it was on somewhere deep in the bonus features discs. And I sat there and watched it, and I remember seeing, for me, the biggest takeaway is Boba Fett. And I think that's what most people latch onto. It's, for me, it's like Boba Fett and the fact that he's riding a dinosaur. Like it's that, those are the 2 things that really stick out to me a lot in that, in it. So for me, I remember watching it just a couple days ago, thinking, wow, this is the first time Boba Fett was ever seen on screen.
Yep.
And I think that his only other appearance before that was in a parade. And
I think you're right.
I think the timeline is parade and then holiday special, which is wild because the holiday special was in 78. And so Boba wasn't seen again until 1980. That's a long time to be like, who is this character?
Yeah.
And we didn't really have to worry about that with the sequels.
True.
We only had to wait about a year, 2 years. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But for me, I remember thinking that about Boba, and now that it's had this huge impact on Mandalorian.
Right.
I mean, the first time we really see Din Djarin do anything huge is in that first episode when he uses his rifle to like shock that thing coming out of the water. And there's no way that's not a parallel to the Story of the Faithful Wookiee.
Oh, agree. And you can definitely tell that his pulse rifle in Mandalorian is full on inspired by Faithful Wookiee.
And Favreau even told George Lucas that. If you go and watch Disney Gallery, I mean, you can literally see him go, hey, did you see how we put the rifle in from the holiday special? And George just goes, oh, I had nothing to do with that. It's, oh, okay, George. But to every other fan in the world, it's like, that's awesome. And
yeah, it was.
I think that its impact kind of speaks a lot to where we are now with Star Wars.
Agreed. Now, I will go ahead and just combine these next 3.
Sounds good.
Caravan of Courage. That's the first Ewok film.
Yeah.
Ewoks, The Battle for Endor is the second one. And then you have your animated Ewoks TV show. I have not had a chance to watch these 3 yet, so I'm going to defer to you as far as just sharing some thoughts on them.
Well, like I said a little bit ago, I just kind of tested the waters with the Ewok stuff. I tried and I actually tweeted, I said something like, I tried. I genuinely tried. And you know what I think? I was thinking about it just a little bit ago before I hopped on and talked to you. I was thinking maybe this is like the prequel kid in me being like, I would love to. I even said to myself today at one point, I would love this so much more if this was about Gungans, which
dude,
I think is a very bold statement, first of all.
Yeah.
But and that's being the fact that, Jar Jar and all of the Gungans received so much hate, especially when we were growing up. And now, the Jar Jar love is incredible, and I won't get into that because I think we're going to talk about it later.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about that.
Absolutely. And I really think that the Ewoks TV show, the animated thing, I don't really get it, because when we watch even the Ewok movies and Return of the Jedi, you sit there and you're like, they're talking in their own language. And then you get to the TV show and they're speaking English to each other.
Yeah.
And I get it. If you're going to make a TV show, they have to speak the language in the nation in which it's produced. I get that. But at the same time, I was like, it's taken me out of it. And then I was like, okay, well, let me go check out the movies. So I turn on, I think it was Caravan of Courage, the first one. And I sat there and watched the first few minutes, and I was like, I don't know what it was. I couldn't put myself in 1980, whatever, and watch it. So I was like, I'm going to fast forward. So I hit the stream thing, and I fast forwarded, and then I'm watching Wicket, be Wicket, and I could not immerse myself in it. And I hate saying that. And I in that same tweet I mentioned, there were people like joking with me, Twitter friends. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're definitely a fake fan," and doing that thing. And I was like, I just couldn't do it. So
yeah.
I can honestly say that my opinion on Ewoks, the TV show, and Caravan of Courage, and I didn't even try to watch Battle for Endor, because I was like, if I'm not going to watch the first one, what's the point with the second one? And, I don't even know what to say about it. I think with the tie-ins, especially like we talked about a minute ago with Clone Wars, how it's tied in.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big thing with this, and Disney Gallery dropped this information, that the first appearance of a blurg was in one of those Ewok movies. And then it got brought into Rebels, and also into Clone Wars, and now, of course, Mandalorian. So that they may have just put that on there just for a blurg.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I doubt that. I mean, I sincerely doubt that's why they did that. But, that's kind of, all that being said, my whole full takeaway on that is Ewoks TV show is meant for 6-year-olds, maybe, maybe even younger. And then if you watched Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor, I think for most viewers, that's just going to be pure nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I also think it might be a nice little tie-in to that little cameo we got of Wicket at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I really don't, personally see the necessity for me to go and watch it.
Right.
I think there needs to be something Lucasfilm puts out there that they're like, hey, remember these movies? You need to watch those to know this.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. That's kind of where I'm thinking it's going.
Okay. So, yeah, and I think all of that's fair, and I can't really add much to that, honestly, because I haven't watched these yet. Sure. But I mean, I do kind of have that sense of like, I will probably force myself to get through them all, even if I do kind of feel the same way as you do.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. But I'm just gonna probably watch these 3 things any chance that I get, I guess. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't expect to see any connections made to them. I think maybe I can see connections made to the first 2, no doubt. The first 2, I think, are quality content. I think maybe these last 3 were thrown in there more so for, like you said, nostalgia. And maybe the first 2 were thrown on there because they knew that it was good content, so they wanted to share it. But the last 3, I think they probably threw those on there because then you would have fans that are like, well, where are all these? You put all this up. So you got to include everything.
I think fans have been mentioning that since Willow hit Disney Plus. And I don't remember when it hit Disney Plus, but, Willow is a Lucasfilm property.
Yep.
And I keep personally waiting for Indiana Jones to hit Disney Plus. And I know that it's Paramount who is the main producers really of the films, but if you want to look at it, phase 1 of Marvel, of the MCU, was also Paramount produced, and they're up there on Disney Plus. So I'm just kind of waiting for all of the Lucasfilm content to hit.
Agreed.
And if it does, awesome. If it doesn't, it doesn't matter because I already own them on DVD anyway.
Same.
So yeah, it's going to be okay whether or not. But either way, that's kind of what I'm thinking is really going on, like you said.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, let us know what you thought about all that vintage Star Wars collection on Disney Plus. I always have fun just getting a chance to watch Star Wars content that comes to Disney Plus, that streaming service. So let us know what you thought about it. If you enjoy the Ewok content, roast us. Say, you know what, you're missing something. This stuff is great. Let us know.
Give me a reason to watch it. And then I will. If it's got to be good, though. It's got to be a good reason.
Fair enough. All right. The last thing that we're going to be talking about on this week's episode of Mando Talk is, we're coming back to it, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
All right.
The newly released Star Wars Skywalker, A Family at War book has revealed possible teases for the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series. Now, before I read this, I do want to say potential spoilers for those of you that want to know absolutely nothing about Kenobi. a passage inside this novel or this book brings up Obi-Wan Kenobi's life in the years following Revenge of the Sith. And here's the passage. It states, before he and Yoda had parted ways, the old Jedi revealed that Obi-Wan's beloved master Qui-Gon Jinn had returned from the netherworld of the Force, manifesting his conscious mind even after death. It took 10 years, but eventually Obi-Wan was able to commune with his dearest friend, resurrected within the cosmic force. Now, I want to connect that, though, here real quickly to the official Kenobi show synopsis that Star Wars let out last week or a couple weeks ago. It says the story begins 10 years after the dramatic events of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. So we get that perfect 10 number in both content, the synopsis for the show and from that passage that's bringing up Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
My immediate takeaway, Qui-Gon's got to be in Kenobi at this point. I mean, right? I mean, you can't deny that, right?
No, I'm right there with you. If Qui-Gon's not in this, I think it'll be a big letdown.
I think so too.
I think it'll be a huge letdown. I mean, Liam Neeson was on James Corden not that long ago. And what did he pull out? He's like, hey, look at this thing I have. And it's his lightsaber from Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Listen, you don't just pull that out for no reason, especially when the world fully well knows Ewan McGregor's off there being Obi-Wan Kenobi again.
Mm-hmm.
So I am right there with you. I think Liam Neeson has to return as Qui-Gon Jinn.
I think so too. Now, let me mention our Twitter poll. So again, if you do not follow us on Twitter, we have polls like this probably, I wouldn't say weekly, but probably about every other week. We throw a cool little fun poll out there. And I threw out this question. What is the likelihood of Liam Neeson making a return to Qui-Gon Jinn in Obi-Wan Kenobi? Here's the results. 7.9% chose 0 to 25%. Please convince me why you chose that, if whoever you are. 26% to 50% was, or sorry, 23.7% of our voters chose the likelihood to be 26 to 50. And then we have a tie. 34% of our voters in this poll said 51 to 75% likelihood it happens. And then again, 34% of our voters in the poll said 76 to 100% likelihood that it happens. So, I mean, my takeaway from that, though, is where the majority is over 50% that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
For me, I take that as it's going to happen. Like,
sure.
Probably going to happen. And I think also, too, though, with those polls, to be fair, it's hard to not vote for 100% because you just want to see it.
Yes. Yeah. And I actually went into it with that. And in fact, I did get to vote in the poll. I also retweeted it. In fact, if you didn't retweet it, you need to. He did not. Nobody at Mando Talk asked me to say this, but I'm going to say it. If you're not already following Mando Talk on Twitter, you need to. And you need to be following them on all their socials. Caleb and the crew, they all have some outstanding insight on all these different things across all of the Star Wars content. But no problem, man. But as for what I think, what I voted for, I decided to be slightly pessimistic. And that's not my personality. I'm not usually pessimistic. I actually voted the 51 to 75 percentile.
Okay.
I thought like, let's be a little bit of a realist here.
You want my vote?
Yes.
51% to 75% is what I put
down. Brother, come on.
So I don't think you're as problematic as you thought.
Hey, fair enough. But I want Qui-Gon Jinn to show up. I think it'd be dumb. Honestly, I think it'd be dumb if Lucasfilm didn't throw him in there.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I know you have to pay your actors, but how much do you have to pay Liam Neeson to be in a TV show for 3 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he voiced Qui-Gon in Clone Wars, and that was in I can't remember the name of the arc now. It's lost. I've lost it. But anyway, he was there, and he was there, and we saw him. He was manifested in the Force there on that planet. Whatever, I can't remember. It's going to bug me the rest of the day. But he was
Dagobah?
there. No, well, his voice was on Dagobah in season 6. It's the Mortis arc. whenever it's the son and the daughter and the father. I mean, he shows up there in Mortis, and somebody was watching this going, "It's Mortis, you idiot! It's Mortis, you." But no, he was there. I mean, it was Liam Neeson who voiced him. Okay, and I think it makes sense to have Liam Neeson come back and do it, and it'd be a really great payoff for a very short scene. I mean, it couldn't cost him that much time. It couldn't cost Disney that much money to get Liam Neeson for such a short moment.
I think so too. And like you said, it's just one of those things that makes sense. Like,
yes,
it'd be dumb to not occur, like you said.
Yeah. And I even forgot to mention that book. You know, I mean, it says 10 years.
Right.
I mean,
the perfect number, the exact number. And that can't be coincidence. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And I mean,
Make
I like
it
to
happen.
Absolutely. I like to think that it's this awesome opening shot where it's just Obi-Wan like meditating or something. And then he kind of hears the voice in the background. And then maybe it's like Hoth when Luke is in the snow.
Oh, okay.
You know, and Obi-Wan just kind of comes out and goes, "Go to Dagobah, learn from Yoda." And maybe it's going to be Qui-Gon saying, "Do this thing," or maybe that's what propels the story forward. That'd be awesome. But
that would be great.
I just want to see it. I just want to see it.
No, I agree, and I would venture to guess that the majority of the fan base out there wants to see it as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Now there is one more thing though that I wanted to talk about, just to have fun. I mean, this doesn't bother me at all, but whenever it says "with his dearest friend," is that problematic for you at all? Or because, you know, whenever I think of Kenobi's best friend, dearest friend, I always go to Anakin. So does that like throw you off any that the book is claiming that Qui-Gon was his dearest friend, or am I just looking too far into that?
I don't think you're looking too far into it, especially as a diehard fan. Have you read Claudia Gray's book, Master and Apprentice?
Ooh, I want to so bad. I haven't found it because I'm one of those that wants to have a hard copy of it.
I get it.
And every time I go to my bookstore, I've yet to see it. I should probably order it off Amazon, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm more of a tradition, I guess.
I get it. I go to Half Price Books as often as I can and go look around and see if I can't pick up something that strikes my interest. But I did buy. With that being said, I'm a hypocrite because I did buy Master and Apprentice on Amazon. But it is what it is. Yeah, fair enough. But I finished reading it. That was one of the beautiful things of being kind of shut in at home during 2020 was I had nothing else to do, and I've had this book. I need to read it, so I read it.
Yeah.
And if you haven't read it, I'm not going to spoil anything real specific. It's just about why this is problematic. So if you haven't read it, I would say, turn this off. But it's very simple, and it's all it is a story point that drives kind of the relationship dynamic between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. It's very clear, right out of the gate, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan have a difficult time understanding or even finding the balance in their relationship. And we also learned that it's one of the factors of why it took Obi-Wan so long to become a Jedi Knight. Not just the fact that it took him a long time to become a master. I mean, if you think about it, he was like 25 years old in The Phantom Menace. In comparison, Anakin was 22 in Revenge of the Sith, and he'd already been knighted and trained Ahsoka and was a member of the council. So, I mean, he has all of that on his own master. And the age difference, there isn't too drastic, really, when you think about it. And so I think that it is a little bit problematic because in this story, you get this whole dynamic where their balance and their relationship is a little out of whack. It takes a long time. It takes almost the entire story of Master and Apprentice to really find their groove. And even also in Phantom Menace, there's moments, like very small moments, where they're still trying to find that groove. And, by the time you get to the end of Master and Apprentice, there's this like moment where Qui-Gon says to Obi-Wan something like, "From now on, I'm going to put all my focus on being your master and making sure you are trained properly," which is really cool. And I think that honestly can tie into the Kenobi show as well. But, ultimately, they are put away on these things and they move forward as a unit is what I'm trying to say. They put those things away and they move forward as a unit. And Obi-Wan and Anakin do that in the Clone Wars. And it's not that it's okay to use the phrase dearest friend. I just never got that's my best friend from
vibes.
Qui-Gon. Yeah. And that's having read Master and Apprentice. That's having watched, Phantom Menace, and then all the old Legends books that mention Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's relationship in certain areas. I haven't read all of them, but there are those stories I've read that have been like, I don't really buy that they're that close.
Right.
I mean, obviously, when Maul kills Qui-Gon,
oh yeah,
that's a big moment for him.
Big moment.
Because he spent so much of his life. I mean, the majority of his teenage years and into his adulthood, he's been with this guy, learning from him. You're gonna that relationship's it's gonna hurt when someone like that dies, especially right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
But I still don't get the dearest friend thing.
Yeah, and there's no denying that there is strong bond and connection and love between those two characters. Like I'm not against that at all. It's just kind of, like I said, I've always interpreted, I mean, we see that emotion. You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. Like, I can't see Kenobi necessarily saying that to Qui-Gon.
No,
it's
or
just
Qui-Gon to Obi-Wan. Yeah,
right.
And we don't get to see the stories unfold between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan like we did between Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars. Both versions, and it's something that I think is missing, and I think that's another reason why Liam Neeson needs to be in Kenobi, because they'll somehow pay homage to Phantom Menace. And there may be some story points that we never knew about as fans. Yeah. Coming to fruition, that'd be 23 years later, when it's all said and done. So that's going to be something I think they could very easily work with, very easily tie in, if they do it right.
Right. No, and I agree 1000% with you as far as just. And again, I don't want to be nitpicky, and I hope we're not coming off as nitpicky, because it really doesn't drive me all that crazy. I just thought, that's a really cool kind of discussion to have real quick, because when I saw that, I'm just like, is that really Qui-Gon though? But regardless, let us know what you think as far as, do you want to see Qui-Gon Jinn in Kenobi? If you don't, please convince me why we don't want to see it.
Yes.
And do that on YouTube, do that on Twitter, wherever you can find us. Because, man, like we said earlier in the show, Kenobi is on the top list as far as my excitement level. So anytime I get a chance to talk Kenobi with anybody, I love that time. So do that wherever you can find us. We would love to hear from you. Now, before we get out of here, we're talking about Kenobi, and talk of Jar Jar being in Kenobi was a thing for a while. And Ahmed Best kind of came out and said, you know what, Jar Jar Binks is not going to be in Kenobi. And I know me and you both are huge supporters of Jar Jar Binks.
Absolutely.
How did you feel whenever you found out that Jar Jar is not going to be in the Kenobi show?
As much of a supporter of Jar Jar Binks as I am. In fact, when they announced the Black Series figure, I was like, well, I'm buying this.
Yeah.
And when I bought it, there's a Star Wars store very local to me. It's a wall-to-wall Star Wars store. It's beautiful.
So jealous.
I know. I'm so, and I don't want to rub it in, but even just mentioning it, I know I'm rubbing it in. But I went in there and I was purchasing it. I was checking out, and the person behind the counter was like, "Oh, you had to get the Jar Jar," and someone about my age, and they were talking to me like that, and I was like, absolutely. And I said, yeah, I actually had a chance to buy the Jar Jar Binks Funko Pop several years ago, and I didn't. And me being, like, oh, I don't care about Jar Jar, when deep down I know I did. And I should have bought it, because now it's one of the Funko Pops that's worth the most.
Yep.
Because they only made so many of them. And I wish that they would maybe do more, but I doubt that'll ever happen. But all that to say, as much as I love Jar Jar, and I still have the action figure and the little chip reader thing like we talked about.
Gosh, we got to figure that out somehow.
I'm gonna go to my parents' house and dig around for that thing. But for me, I would love to see Jar Jar on screen again. But him not being there, it's not a deal breaker. It's not like I'm like, nope, not watching it. I don't love Jar Jar that much, but I love Jar Jar, and I feel like his story has been told.
Yeah.
He was always a supporting character, and I think that he was always going to just be a supporting character, regardless of the media backlash that he received back in the first initial release of Phantom Menace, and then going forward, even up to Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I just think his story is completed. In fact, I know his story was told in the comics, and it's a very sad ending. If you've never seen it or read it, I won't spoil that, because I do think we need to go read it and see it as fans, so we know, oh, this character deserved a little better. But
yeah,
I'm not surprised that he's not coming back. I don't know story-wise if it would have made a whole lot of sense. I mean,
agreed.
I mean, we know what we're getting. We're getting Darth Vader. We're getting Hayden Christensen back as Anakin. We know Obi-Wan and lots of new characters as well, as they announced, which is, I don't know who any of them are going to play. I don't even want to begin to speculate, even though I did already kind of speculate one time. There is one of the actresses kind of looks like Duchess Satine. So I'm kind of like, okay, maybe, but that to say, it's okay if he doesn't come back. And mostly for me, I think that since Ahmed Best has returned as the Jedi Master Kelleran Beck, on Jedi Temple Challenge, which that is 100% like a kid's show. And
yes, it is.
I watched a couple episodes of it, and I was like, this is fun. Like if I was a kid, I would 100% watch this. If I had kids, I'd be like, check this out. But for me, if I need to see Ahmed in Star Wars, I can go check out Kelleran Beck, and I think that's enough for me personally. Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
And I'm on the same boat. Like, I think me and Jacob might have even talked about this last week whenever we had talked about that cast announcement, that he was one that was missing. It's like you said, it's not a deal breaker. Now, would we have been excited to see Ahmed Best included? Absolutely.
Sure.
But I'm still equally excited, even though he's not involved. And you did kind of mention it. I do feel like it might have felt maybe they would have came up with a creative way to do it, but I feel like it might have been forced to include Jar Jar just showing up randomly on Tatooine, because I'm assuming that's where the majority of our time, if not all of our time, is going to be spent. So like you said, not disappointed that much. I mean, I would have been excited, but just it is what it is,
And I know y'all talked about the Kenobi casting stuff a few days ago, and I did go and check that one out and listen to it. And I think it's really cool that we're getting Joel Edgerton back as Owen. And I, for the life of me, cannot pronounce the actress playing Beru's.
I can't. Bonnie Peace. I don't know how to say her last name.
I don't know if it's Peace, Pice, whatever. But anyway, she's coming back, and I think I put something on Twitter that said, hey, maybe hopefully Beru will say more than hello in this. But
no, this time she's going to say hello there, and then that'll be it.
There. Yes, that's it. That's nothing else from Aunt Beru, who's this like sage voice of wisdom and A New Hope. But she just gets hello.
I cannot wait for Kenobi. Like, I know that's like the fifth time I've probably said this on this podcast, but it's just the truth. It's the top. It's the top.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Rebel Scum Texan, you're on the top as far as our guest, and we really appreciate the support, the continued support that you bring to us. Always repping that hat, man. How do you like that hat that you won in the giveaway?
This truthfully, the bobblehead, scene is one thing, but this hat, dude, I wear this all the time, and I'm not even saying that because I support y'all. I do support y'all. I tell people, check out this podcast.
Yeah.
And I do my best to support you guys online.
Oh, you do, man. We really appreciate it.
And I'm glad to. And I appreciate the conversations with y'all. But I wear this hat all the time, to the point like I don't like to sweat in it. And it's like, to me, it's become like I don't know, not almost like a safety blanket in kind of a weird way. I like to wear it around. I do wear it to the gym. It's the only time I ever sweat in it.
Oh, okay.
But other than that, when I do wear it, it's probably my most comfortable hat. I have a genuine rotation of hats I go through.
Yeah.
And this is one of my favorite hats. I wear it constantly because it's so comfortable.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, listen, we really appreciate you continuing to be an awesome supporter. And we appreciate all the supporters out there. We appreciate every single one of you that listens to our show, watches our show on YouTube. And again, you can find us anywhere and everywhere that you get podcast content, Apple, Spotify, Google, you name it. And then also on YouTube, so you can see our lovely, beautiful faces. And again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Mando Talk. And listen, Rebel Scum Texan, we really appreciate it as always. I can't wait to do it again. I think we will always continue to find some time to do a podcast episode together at some point throughout, like every year that we're doing Mando Talk. We'll find some time with you, man.
Let's keep it going, man. I really appreciate it. I know last time I was on, I was at my buddy Larry's house.
Yeah, Larry.
And Larry and I were just the other day geeking out about something. I don't even remember what it was now. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's like this. And he's like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And we, so I get to geek out with him.
Yeah.
But I love geeking out with y'all and talking to you guys. And I miss the rest of the crew tonight. I know they all got stuff going on.
Definitely.
And I missed, I know at one point Jacob, I think, was going to try to stop in.
Yeah, he was.
But
school, man, like he's deep in that school action right now.
I get it. I know how it goes. But all the support to him. Do well, my brother.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I appreciate being here. I hope that I can keep coming back from time to time and jumping in and talking. It'll be good times going forward, I hope.
Absolutely. Well, again, to all of our listeners, we hope that you keep coming back and listening to us, and we cannot wait to catch you next week. We got a lot of cool, big, exciting ideas coming forward. So again, check us out on social medias to get those announcements, because they're going to be pretty special here really soon. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here this week. May the Force be with you, every single one of you out there. And as always, we have spoken. Let's
right
go.
There on the hat. It's right there.